Welcome back everyone, it's Charlie. This will be my full Punisher special presentation video. There were a whole bunch of references, Easter eggs for the comics, so we will break it all down, and obviously references to Spider-Man Brand New Day. Welcome back, Frank. Again, looks like you need a little bit of a therapy session, which is basically what this special served as to get him back on track before the events of Spider-Man Brand New Day. Lock in before Spider-Man shows up. This special presentation was why Punisher was not in Daredevil Born Again Season 2. Jon Bernthal and the Daredevil showrunner said that originally he was part of Season 2, but then they decided that the story they wanted to tell for Frank basically going through it and recommitting to being the Punisher, finding a new reason in the MCU for why he wanted to continue living and being the Punisher to set him up for a brand new day was why they wanted to do a completely separate story, because they wouldn't have been able to really do that and pay it justice during Daredevil Born Again Season 2 because they were so focused on the Mayor Kingpin storyline. But if you really think about it, this was only about 45 minutes long. It was shorter than all the Daredevil Born Again episodes, so they could have just done 9 episodes of Daredevil Born Again and just given Frank one of those episodes. But you can kind of understand why they want it to be its own separate thing, because even though there are a couple wider MCU references, and I will explain the timeline where this fits in with everything, this is largely meant to be self-contained in Little Sicily. So he's in a completely different part of town, and it's all because of the story revolving around the Gnucci crime family, which is a big Punisher comic book thing. Mostly this was inspired by Garth Ennis' Punisher. Ma Gnucci is one of his biggest villains from the comics. Typically his villains are mob-related villains, but she was also played by Judith Light, so you make all the who's the boss jokes you want. Who is the boss? She is the boss of the Gnucci crime family. I know people will be disappointed that Spider-Man didn't show up during this, but I really wasn't expecting Daredevil or anybody else to show up during it. That's kind of the way they pitched it when they said they were going to do this. Sony also has a very big deal about Spider-Man not showing up in live-action TV series, so anytime anybody wonders if you're ever going to see him on a TV show, the easy answer is probably never. But the actual title, Punisher One Last Kill, is meant to be a reference to both Frank and Ma Gnucci being each other's one last kill to close the revenge cycle between him and the Gnucci crime family in his long-running quest to get revenge for the death of his family. They were responsible for the death of his family during the Punisher Netflix series earlier in the MCU timeline, in addition to Billy Russo and a bunch of other things going on they dealt with during that series, so I'll explain that when we get to that part of the episode. Because there are a lot of moments and flashbacks that he has during this, hallucinations, PTSD flashbacks, that are things that we saw during the Punisher Netflix series. This is also notable because it's Marvel's first special presentation since Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special and Werewolf by Night. Maybe they'll do more special presentations now because it's kind of like a short movie, more bang for their buck, and this is relatively cheap for them to film compared to like a normal $200 million movie. Even though it would be amazing if you want to do a $200 million movie, Marvel, Kevin Feige, please give Punisher his own theatrical movie. Wilson Bethel was saying he wanted Bullseye to get his own special presentation now, and he's now working for Mr. Charles in present day, so they could totally do a Bullseye version of this. If you watch the credits, you'll see Jon Bernthal wrote this special presentation. He basically said that Kevin Feige now lets him do whatever he wants to do with the character. He's sort of like the custodian of the Punisher character in the MCU, wherever he appears in movies or TV shows. So if you really like his portrayal of the Punisher and the way he's written during this, it's all down to him, Jon Bernthal, doing this himself. During the special presentation intro, like the special intro they use for these, they use the Danzig Mother music. And most of the music during this special presentation is metal based, like just a really hardcore soundtrack. The opening scene is of a big Charlie Day conspiracy board he has inside his new lair in Little Sicily. This isn't the one that he was in during Daredevil Born Again. Completely different place that Matt and Karen jumped into after he escaped Kingpin at the end of Season 1. And to explain that, I know there'll be follow-up questions about the timeline. The producers said that this special presentation is meant to happen after the events of Daredevil Born Again Season 1, after he escapes that basement prison cell, but before the events of Daredevil Born Again Season 2. So by the end of this, as far as we know, Matt and Karen have not yet taken up residence in his old lair during Daredevil Born Again Season 1. But now all the people on his Charlie Day conspiracy board in that place make more sense because he just recreated that board inside this new apartment that he's been hiding out in while he's been slowly going through the Gnucci crime family. All the people that in red that are crossed out and that were in his former lair up on his wall are members of the Gnucci crime family. pretty much everybody on the board here is crossed out because he's killed all of them, except that is for Gnucci, now the leader of their crime family. The way they present things in this movie is that she only became the head of the crime family after he killed the rest of the family. He actually killed one of the Gnuccis in the very first episode of The Punisher Netflix Season 1, and this is all part of this long-running quest he's been on because they were responsible, or one of the parties responsible, for the death of his own family. So it has been a very long road for him to deal with all the Gnuccis, but technically he hasn't completely finished it because Gnucci is still alive at the end of the series, so there's still like one more Gnucci left. Even though the way that she explains her family during the series, she was not connected to anything that happened to Punisher's family. It was all the male side of the family that was connected to that. We see Punisher working out, and we find that he has killed the last male Gnucci, but he hasn't dealt with Gnucci yet. He's just forgotten about her, which she throws in his face later, like, "You forgot about me." He looks more animal than man. He starts grunting and shouting like an animal. As he falls, the music slows and slurs distorts to show his deteriorating mental and physical state as he begins to spiral out, doing a whole bunch of pills, drinking a whole bunch of booze, just all the bad things, basically hitting rock bottom for him. When he punches the mirror, the picture of the little girl in the mirror is his daughter. He rips all the notes and pictures off the wall because the Gnucci crime family, as far as he knows, is dead, which is incorrect. Then the next day on the news, they mentioned riots in Little Sicily, this part of New York City here, with a bunch of people dying because the Gnuccis, which were keeping tabs on the neighborhood and keeping it under relative control, even though they were kind of terrible themselves, were at least keeping a certain semblance of order, which is gone now, with a whole bunch of gang members and random thugs just vying for power now. Because this is meant to be before the events of Daredevil Born Again Season 2, I'm assuming that Fisk's task force has not moved into this area to pacify it and take it over. Like, it's not martial law in this area of New York City, just to show you how big New York City is. Even though he was very powerful at his height, Kingpin and the task force, he's not so powerful that he has complete 100% control over every inch of New York City. Even though by default, technically, the Gnuccis would have been working with Kingpin when he was the Kingpin of crime. But if it wasn't clear, if you're talking about power scaling in terms of organizations, they are one of the crime families in New York City. They're powerful, but they're not nearly as powerful as Kingpin was at his height before he was exiled. We see one of the Gnucci's local restaurants that they opened up a long time ago, like when their family first started coming to power in this area in New York City, before they became this very powerful crime family. We meet a homeless veteran of the Marine Corps. Frank was a Marine like him. He's got a dog whose name is Camo, after camouflage that troops wear. Based on his age, I'd say that he was an older veteran of the Iraq and Afghanistan war like Frank. Like, he's just older than Frank, but they were both in that same place. He starts whistling the Stars and Stripes, which they sing and play often in the armed forces, and a random thug attacks him. They go full John Wick, and he kills his dog and steals his hat, setting up the cycle that they pay off at the end of the episode. Really love the way the Punisher gets him at the end of the episode, too. That dude definitely deserved to die.
But now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
The minute that you harm someone's dog, boom, you absolutely have to die. We meet the little girl named Charlie, and her father is named Dre. Their family owns the restaurant nearby that Frank winds up eating at, who he helps save later. This area is basically where the story takes place, in Little Sicily. When we go back to Frank in his hideout, he's reciting his oath as a Marine when he was first inducted to the Marines. It's part of his psychological conditioning that he's falling back on to try and keep his grip on sanity, because he tries to kill himself a couple times in this first half of the episode. So he's falling back on his traditions as a Marine and his training to just try and continue going. He begins to hallucinate his other former squad mates from the war. They had a lot of flashbacks this period during the Punisher Netflix series. He hallucinates Curtis Hoyle. They weren't squad mates. He met Curtis, another veteran, when he was going to therapy for veterans. Curtis was the group leader. They wind up using Mindspace Curtis on the show a number of different times across the entire special to show his descent into madness. He starts cutting through his Marine tattoo on his chest as he spirals out because he thinks he's going to fail, and then has a moment of clarity as Curtis gives him the therapy speak from their groups. He asks for help, admitting that he needs some, which is usually the biggest problem, biggest step that people have trouble with, just being able to ask someone for help. So as much as this series is all about the Punisher getting his groove back, so to speak, it's a real big PSA on mental health just in general, not just veterans' mental health, but pretty much anybody's mental health. He puts his weapons away under a Marine flag. Gonna need those later, though, as we see. He passes another family living next door on his hallway. The boy seems like he recognizes him, but I don't think that he knows that he's Frank Castle, the Punisher. I think that he just realizes that it's their next door neighbor who he knows lives there, but has never seen because he's never come out. And the woman remarks, oh, he does actually come out sometimes. Frank goes to get some coffee at Dre's shop. We meet Dennis, who seems like just a local addict who lives in the area. He's just high at the moment, tweaking out. Spectrum One News on the TV is a channel that Marvel uses all the time in different movies and TV shows. These are during Spider-Man 2. They broadcast the Punisher's recent spree ripping through the Gnucci crime family. So remember, that happened between the events of him escaping at the end of Daredevil Born Again Season 1 and before the events of Season 2. So not that much time has gone by. But there is a lot of footage of him that the news have and that the police have because they've arrested him in the past, so pretty much all of New York knows what the Punisher's been doing. But if it wasn't clear why the Gnuccis were so connected to his family dying, the whole idea is that Billy Russo, Jigsaw, was working with Rollins as part of a drug smuggling operation they were trying to protect, so Billy sold Frank out to try and protect the operation, and the Gnuccis were part of that drug smuggling ring and the ones who actually pulled the trigger on his family, and Frank was supposed to die with them, but he survived, and it drove him to become the Punisher, so he blamed largely the Gnuccis, in addition to Billy and Rollins, who he also killed during the Punisher Netflix series. Or maybe we think that Billy Russo is dead. Maybe he could come back at some point. We will see if they ever want to do anything with Jigsaw in the MCU. Then the little girl Charlie seems like she recognizes Frank a little from the news. Like she kind of puts two and two together, but the rest of the adults seem like they don't notice at all, so nobody else really knows that he's the Punisher, just the little girl. She basically becomes a proxy for his own dead daughter. He notices the new gang members outside, the thugs vying for control, chaos erupting all over the place. Like, it's bad now, even though it does get worse later in the episode, but not that much worse. It was already very bad. But because he thinks the Gnuccis are all dead, he's not thinking about Ma Gnucci at this point, and they were his last piece of his revenge, and that revenge is now complete in his mind. He feels like he has no more reason for existing anymore. Like, if I was only existing to get revenge and the revenge has been had, what reason is there for me to continue living? So that is why this whole series is basically how the Punisher got his groove back, finding a new reason for living and being a hero. And what is that reason other than protecting the innocent, essentially?
All done. Nothing left to do.
Which I think is meant to inform his connection to Sadie Sink's Jean Grey character when Spider-Man Brand New Day begins. He's trying to help and protect her. While Frank walks through the streets to the cemetery and the chaos around him is erupting in the streets, he starts having flashbacks to the war in Iraq. You hear the helicopters, his squad mates shouting around him, and he visits his family's graves. If it wasn't clear what's happening with the key here, this is meant to be the key to the apartment that he was just living at, like this little hideout in Little Sicily. The reason why he's putting the key at their graves is because he tries to kill himself after this, so he wasn't planning on going back to the apartment, like he thought that was all done. Then I think the reason why they had him talking to his daughter specifically, if she was still alive, because they wanted to draw the parallel with the young Charlie girl that he was protecting later in the episode as the through line, and the one batch, two batch rhyme that he also says at the end of the episode, which they also have him flash to during these scenes when he's thinking of his family members. He has visions of them all still alive and then slowly dying in different ways. We get a flash of that one batch, two batch book that he then recites the rhyme for at the end of the episode. We see his son, we see his wife. We saw flashbacks, PTSD flashbacks like this all the time on the Netflix series. Anytime he wasn't killing someone, talking to or almost getting it on with Karen Page, he was mostly hallucinating them. As they each start dying in his memories, things bleed into the memory of the Ferris wheel, which we also visited several times during the Netflix series. He comes back to reality, out of the memory, and sees his daughter again, and she inspires him to put the gun down, essentially. We get another short time jump after he goes back to town and he sees another hallucination of Curtis questioning whether or not God will forgive them for the terrible things they've done. He's talking both about what they did during the war as Marines and also what he's done in present day as the Punisher. The funny thing about that is that God does exist. Many gods exist in the MCU, but the one true God is the one that Curtis is talking about, like the Christian God. There are many different names for him in the comics, but typically the biggest one is the one above all. This is meant to be a relatively street-level endeavor, so I never expect to see him show up on any of these TV shows. But we did see a lot of stuff that was adjacent to that during the Moon Knight series. Curtis then questions his purpose for living now as he hallucinates himself in full Punisher gear again with the beard. This is more the idea that he's wondering whether there's any reason for the Punisher to exist if the only reason why he existed in the first place isn't a big thing anymore, like his revenge has been had, like he's killed all the Gnuccis. That is until he runs afoul of Ma Gnucci herself in the flesh, in the wheelchair, the head of the Gnucci crime family, who he destroyed recently, except for her. As we said, she's one of his biggest villains in the comics, but they're giving her a bit of an origin story for the MCU version, where she didn't start out being the head of the crime family. It was because of her tragic origin story that the Punisher wound up creating her and turning her into the villain that she becomes from the comics. And if you have not read the comics, she is a really terrible person. One of the most dangerous people in New York City without superpowers next to someone like Kingpin. Like I said, she's not nearly as powerful as Kingpin though, just very terrible. She does that villain thing where she tries to make it seem like they are the same person. We are not so different, you and I. Dead families. They do this really cool reverse montage where they show you Punisher going around killing all the different members of the Gnuccis, but from her memories of them. And the way they make it seem is that they weren't so bad, but ironically they show you each of the Gnuccis doing these terrible things, showing you that they were very terrible people, but not in her eyes because she was the mother, the wife. My wonderful husband who cheated on me all the time and did terrible things was probably going to die pretty soon anyway, and all my sons could never do terrible things, and then she shows them all doing very terrible things. But the whole idea here is this is meant to be her tragic origin, the way that Punisher watching his family die was his tragic origin, like they're trying to make them seem like similar people. Both now on a quest for revenge.
My entire family, Frank. Same as you.
During the last flashback, she also implies that her favorite son, Carlo, the young son, was either a pedo or like something really bad that he did, even though she would never believe that he did anything terrible. Like, my sweet boy couldn't have done anything, but he probably did some really shady stuff. We see the events of how she wound up in the wheelchair from the comics, 6:47 p.m. when the Punisher killed him, that she then uses later as the clock shot for getting her revenge on him. She then references the title of the episode. She said the name of the thing inside the thing, One Last Kill, because Punisher is her one last kill to end things, while she is now technically his one last kill to end his revenge cycle against the Gnucci crime family for good. The funny thing about that is that she's not dead at the end of the episode, and neither is he, so like their revenge cycle is not complete, meaning that Marvel could use her in some future Punisher story in some way. She also throws the name Punisher in his face, like, I'm the Punisher now, punishing you. She gives him the name of the game, 6:47 p.m., every assassin here in town, open season on you. So part of the idea here is that Frank doesn't want to die, he's kind of in survival mode, but he doesn't really want to live that much either, so he's kind of undecided for a second, so they use this for that funny scene later when his feet literally get lit on fire, literal and metaphorical fire lit under his feet, calling him to action. Do you want to live? Why do you want to live? What are you living for now? That's basically all the questions that are answered during this series. When he goes back to his apartment, he hallucinates Karen Page, so we get a Karen Page cameo who calls him out as a failure, a quitter, along with Curtis. Again, everybody calling him a quitter. When she says she's always here, it implies that Frank is always hallucinating her, which is kind of a funny reference to their weird three-way love triangle they have going on between her and Matt, too. There were a couple references to that during Daredevil Born Again Season 2, where Karen started to turn into her own version of the Punisher, like she got real stabby this season, and started wondering whether or not Punisher was still alive. Do you think Frank's alive? And Daredevil kind of chuckles at the idea, because he recognizes the chemistry between the two of them. Yeah, he's probably still alive. Mindspace Karen reminds him that it is now 6:47 p.m. The attackers are all over the building hunting for him, and there's a bunch of collateral damage. All the different regular innocent people there are being attacked while the people are looking for him. And like I said, it takes him a beat, like he's kind of undecided. It's a call to action kind of moment where he witnesses the next door family being attacked, almost killed, the little boy that he just saw, and the literal fire lit beneath his feet, like he's literally lit on fire as he marches into action and takes down the other thugs to protect the family. And the episode basically turns into the Raid Redemption, but in the MCU. So if you ever wanted to see them do the Raid in the MCU, this is basically it, like him just fighting his way through a building. Really solid premise, like really easy to execute on. There was even a Ben Affleck Batman movie, or a version of the Ben Affleck Batman movie that was going to be this, but in Arkham Asylum with his fighting his way down to the bottom. Too bad that never wound up coming to pass. Jon Bernthal also said that he did this stunt too, so like they literally lit him on fire and he filmed this for real. He starts mowing through the first group of thugs, John Wick style. The body count is impressive, but to be fair, if the police try to pin all these deaths on him, technically he uses their stupidity against each other, so they kill each other more than he winds up killing them, like their body count is higher than his body count. He then fights his way to the top of the building, then takes the quick way down, falling. It's just going to be another scar, just a couple more scratches, no big deal. You can let me know in the comments who you think has taken more damage, Punisher or Daredevil, because sometimes it seems like they have 9 lives, but they don't have the same powers of regeneration that, say, like Spider-Man or Deadpool or Wolverine have. Like, they have no healing factor. Gnucci then takes off. This is the last point we see her in the episode, so that's why I say she's still alive when they end the episode. But now the streets have gotten even worse, and he's about to bail on the area, like he's about to just walk off, escape, until he hears the young Charlie being captured, and she reminds him of his daughter, and it becomes his big call to action to try and start to protect her and ultimately other innocent people on the block here. So the really big place they wanted Frank to get to on his arc during this episode was him being a hero for other people, not just for pure revenge.
Charlie?
He winds up saving Charlie and her family after a big metal montage of him just ripping through everyone John Wick style. He takes the big guy out with a regular pen. Anything can be a weapon if you need it to be. Turns the dude into a giant pincushion too. Like, how many times did he have to stab him there? Charlie then hugs him in thanks, and we get a rare moment of Frank being lucid, like he's completely back 100% mentally, and he's not having any more visions, and she gives him the flowers she made, which the show uses as a metaphor for Frank's personal growth as a person during the episode, the way he finds a new purpose for living and being a hero, or anti-hero, depending on how you look at it. He and Daredevil are never going to agree on what makes a true hero, just because of Daredevil's no-kill rule, and Frank has like the opposite rule of that. We will hear all about this dichotomy, the no-kill rule idea, during Spider-Man Brand New Day, because that is also Spider-Man's idea too. He has a no-kill rule, and I think it's pretty easy to assume that Frank is going to try and hold that rule to task, like show Spider-Man why it's foolish sometime to let his enemies live. As he starts walking back to his family's grave, you see the ambulances, the police start rolling in to clean up the damage. He's still not 100% mentally back, but he's way better off than he was at the beginning of the episode. So when he goes back to his family's graves, he places the flower Charlie gave him on the gravestones, replacing their former belongings to symbolize the new things growing, going forward, moving forward, whereas previously he'd been stuck, trapped in the moment of their deaths from their past several years. This is also why he takes his apartment key back, which he places the gravestones, because he's going to need it, because he's going to plan on living for a great long while. This is meant to be him deciding to keep being the Punisher. He says the one batch, two batch rhyme again to end the episode. One batch, two batch, penny and dime. There's a small time jump. The neighborhood has been cleaned up a little bit. He's got a new Punisher outfit, new haircut. This is meant to be the new Punisher logo that you see him wearing during the Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer. He then saves another random couple from that same thug at the beginning of the episode who killed the other veteran's dog and stole his hat, takes the hat back for him. It's both a crime to steal a dude's stuff, but also disrespectful to the Marine Corps to wear another Marine's hat if you are also not a veteran yourself, like disrespecting the Marine Corps in general. Then they end on the big payoff moment of him getting justice for Camo, hashtag justice for Camo. They use the bullet shot transition to the new Punisher MCU logo. This is what his logo is going to be going forward, and presumably he goes on to run into Sadie Sink's Jean Grey at some point after this moment in the beginning of Brand New Day, so when they enter the movie, they both have already known each other for a little while. But at least the way they've explained the timeline, this moment here at the end of the Punisher special presentation is still right before the events of Daredevil Born Again Season 2, and the end of that is before Spider-Man Brand New Day, and Season 3 will be after Spider-Man Brand New Day, with him still in prison. So if you're also thinking about Daredevil showing up in Spider-Man Brand New Day, the reason why people are wondering about that now is because during the Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer, there's a scene of him fighting the Hand in prison, and people are wondering if this is the same prison that Matt is locked up in. We will see about that, but that's a way to include him in the movie in a small way. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below, and let me know how you want them to use the Punisher character going forward in the MCU, if they're going to be putting him in more movies and TV shows at the same time now. Now that we're getting closer to Spider-Man Brand New Day coming out in theaters, we'll start seeing more trailers for that and hopefully get more details about what's happening with Punisher during the course of that movie and Marvel's plans for him going forward in the timeline. Because it does seem like Marvel has big plans for Frank in the future. My next big video will be for my Boys Season 5 Episode 7 video. It is going to be super messed up, so be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. Everybody click here for that video. I'll update the link as soon as I post it, and click here for all of my Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.